Hello and welcome to Elder Scrolls Online Weekly number 9. Today I'm joined with Dan.
Yes.
And today we're going to talk about the first-person combat that we have seen from the Elder Scrolls Online at this E3 preview. We're going to talk about lockpicking, we're going to get the question of the week, and then we're going to answer some questions from you guys from the last weekly. So Dan, what was the
Dude.
first major thing that we saw from first-person combat?
Well, we saw their lovely hands.
You know you can stop talking like this now, I just did that for the intro.
Oh, but
Well, like Dan said, you can see their hands, which is pretty good, but from a recent interview with IGN, they did say that they couldn't see their hands. So, hmm.
yeah, I think that's just they've obviously released a beta client and they haven't introduced it into that yet. But you can see in the
The
video.
game is in beta now, right? It's out of its alpha stage. Most
Yeah, it's in beta, but no one's allowed to talk about it. No one's even allowed to say they have it. No one's allowed to say they've played it.
yeah.
Except for people like IGN, obviously. Anyone who's been invited through beta sign-ups, yeah, they're not allowed to
I think you
say or
actually get an
show.
NDA because your screen is from what I was reading, there's like a marker on your screen that has like your email address or something, so you can't actually, show footage. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff out there, but it's pretty crap, and we're not allowed to talk about it anyway. But I'm
anyway,
sure those people will get their beta.
you can see the arms in there. That's one thing, and you can also see it when they're opening chests and doing miscellaneous things, right?
Yeah, it'll be cool to kind of see like your armor and stuff. Another cool thing is I'd like to see your rings on your hands personally.
Yeah, that would be. I reckon. Wait, isn't that already in Skyrim?
Um, I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a while since I played Skyrim, but
Yeah,
obviously, the kind of more it feels realistic. So when you open a chest, you actually see your character grab the chest and open it or
yeah,
whatnot. The better the game will be, and it'll feel more like a single player one for those who like the single player Skyrim and Oblivion and
yeah, exactly.
Morrowind.
Now we also saw from the footage that there's just a crosshair, but we know there will be UI, right? Like there has to be.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. They've showed first-person combat, but there's no UI. We haven't seen any UI yet. It's quite weird for them to show actual. It is in-game footage. You can see that. You can see spells. You can see the crosshair, but you can't actually see an action bar or a health bar because he's clearly being hit. So there's clearly damage being dealt.
Maybe it's. Do you know how you can press Alt Z and WoW and it gets rid of your interface? Maybe
Yeah,
they're
I
doing that.
think they don't really want to confirm how the UI looks at the moment because there's still so much is subject to change throughout beta, etc. So I guess they're only really showing what they want at the moment, and clearly they don't want to show us the UI. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with that.
Yeah, and it's the same type of combat style as Oblivion and Skyrim. A bit more like Skyrim, to be fair, because I think that's the engine they're working off of and the combat style. Because like it's the
Um,
same type of slash and hack from what we've seen.
yeah, it's quite actiony. It's not the typical MMO. I'm gonna click on you to target you, and even if I'm looking up my bum, I'll still be able to hit you.
Yeah. Now we also could see the Dragon Knight, and we'll tell you why it's a Dragon Knight in a couple of seconds. Was dueling an Elven dagger by the looks of it and an iron sword. It's
Um,
pretty. So we know that dueling is going to be in there, but that was
yeah,
pretty
dual
obvious.
wielding, mix of weapons.
Do
Yeah,
you reckon that you'll be able to use a staff and a shield?
I don't know. They seem to have said that.
Like we don't
I,
know if staves will be two-handed. That's the thing.
yeah, because I wonder if they'll introduce like a wand, like a one-handed spell. That would be quite interesting. They haven't really done that before, have they?
Yeah. No, they just kept the ability of using it out through your hands, like lightning
Yeah,
or
so
fire.
it'll be interesting to see if they could bring in a one-handed magical weapon opposed to, I mean, in Skyrim people would use shields and like flames,
I
but
think I remember when I was using Skyrim. When I was fighting one of the Daedric princes, I actually used a shield, a dwarven shield, was it, or was it an orcish one or the other? And I had a fireball in my other hand, and that actually was very effective against it.
yeah, seeing as spells like fireballs and stuff will no longer be placed into hands, I do wonder if they'll bring in a one-handed spell weapon for people that would like to use a magicka-based attack and be defensive at the same time for those mage tanks,
Yeah,
for
exactly.
example.
There's also the instant cast spells that we see now on your screen. You can see the fire breath attack from the Dragonite, it's like it spits out fire because you know he's still dual wielding his two. You don't see his hands casting it, but he's
Yeah, I
obviously still
mean, you
dual
see
wielding.
them go away, so there might be an action where he kind of swings his
It
hands out of the
actually it
way and
almost looks like a dragon shout from Skyrim, but we know that there wouldn't be. But this does look to be some sort of dragon breath ability.
yeah, obviously it's just a fire-based kind of area of attack, conal damage
Yeah,
going on there.
it
Yeah,
looks
this
pretty
is
sick.
one of the this is another thing you couldn't see a Magicka usage when he's used this. Obviously we know there will be, but this is just another way of showing that the spells won't be in hands; they'll be abilities.
Yes, exactly. And one of the amazing, huge things that we've seen was the aggro, or maybe it was the detection indicator above the mob's head. You can see it there on the skeleton. Dan, what do you
Yeah,
actually think about that? Do you think it's aggro or do you think it's detection?
I'm not sure. I'd say they could use it. They could use both. I mean, the preliminary kind of sighting of you could be signified by that red marker above his head.
Or a purple one then could be the aggro.
Yeah, it could just be. Well, we definitely see the red one. Obviously, we don't know if he's used an aggro spell to grab that
Yeah.
um, attention, but it definitely signifies that you have been seen. So, I mean, that's quite smart because obviously, when you're in stealth, you know when you've been detected, but you never can tell if a target has, or there's nothing to signify being detected by a target.
Then you're not stealth, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think that's another good feature. They're kind of adding to the single player gameplay that they've already had.
Now, one of my main problems would be, let's say if there was let's say if there was five people together and you use some sort of AOE, would it all pop? Would all the little things pop up, or would it just be one big one?
I think if it was an aggro one, I'd like to see five separate ones so that you've gained all five of their attention.
Oh yeah, yeah, that would make sense.
If it's a group of mobs and that just signifies that you've been sighted, I could deal with there just being one because you can tell that obviously if it's a group of mobs, one of them sees you, they're all going to
And
attack you.
in
So one
Skyrim,
mob,
there was
fine.
some sort of like music. It went like do do doo 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 when you were kind of sighted.
Yeah, that
So
kind of came in handy when you had no idea that you were actually in combat and there was something chasing you
yeah.
sometimes.
Now we
Uh,
also have. Oh, go on. Sorry.
no, you're gone.
We also have the directional hit indicator shown on your crosshair, as you can see now. It actually shows which direction you're being hit from. Now, Dan, you made a great point about this for PvP. What was it?
Yeah, I mean, in other MMOs I've played, you could get hit and all you would know is that you are being hit. But seeing as this is quite an action-based MMORPG, that this direction will come in handy because if you're in the walking through, I don't know, going through a town that you've seized and you get hit and you have no idea where from, especially if it's a range, you're gonna have it's gonna take you a while to kind of realize where it's from, and that could make the whole difference in a fight.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
knowing where you're being attacked from is gonna make a huge difference because you can turn around and you can go and you can start attacking back.
because
And
if I was to attack, let's say you in World v World, and you were in first person, there's no way you could see to the left or right or behind you if you're not in third. So
yeah,
that
so
little
if you're being
indicator
hit,
will show you it.
sorry, go on.
Cough.
Oh,
Go
right.
on. We also
Yeah,
have,
so
go on.
like Chris said, if you're in first person, I don't know what the field of view might be. It'll probably be about 120 degrees. So if you're getting hit from directly from the left from a distance, and there's no indicator, you might turn around and still see nobody because they were to the left of you and they wouldn't have been in your field of view,
Exactly. Now, if there wasn't
and
in
you'd
it,
know
I think
nothing.
you're saying like, if there wasn't an indicator and someone on the left hit you, you could turn right. You could make a
Yeah,
mistake. So that
exactly. You could literally be there for a good 10 seconds trying to figure out where you're getting attacked from, and that's just not gonna, that's gonna ruin the flow of combat,
yeah,
really.
exactly.
So
Now
it
we
was
saw
necessary.
three major spells actually. Now the first one was the Dragonite Fiery Grip, which is the one where he pulls it towards it. The
Yeah,
second
that
one,
looked quite cool. It looked like it was actually, he'd really got him with a chain. Like you could see it. It wasn't just kind of like a beam or something. It
yeah,
really
it was an
looked
actual chain on fire. It was pretty darn sick.
like the one out of was it Knight Rider? No, not Knight Rider.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah, that one. It looked and it you kind of it looked like you were, it really felt like you were gripping them and pulling them in with that chain.
Exactly. And the second Dragonite ability we saw, I think it was Stone Fist because when he throws it at the mob, it knocks it down for a 2 to 3 second period. which is
Yeah,
pretty
it
amazing.
was. It's a quite a weird one because it kind of makes them look like they kind of crumble in, and it wraps around them on the floor,
Yeah, it looks
smothering.
so amazing. And the third one we saw was from we think, we don't know, was from the Templar, and it was the ability Sunfire when it fires a ranged magical projectile, dealing damage and applying a snare to your target. But we don't see the
Yes.
target being snared, we just see it dying. So,
Yeah, so I mean, there could have been a snare applied, but it dies anyway, so you won't see that. Another thing is they're using the same daggers. Obviously, any class can use any weapon,
so we don't know if it
but
was Sunfire.
it could have been the same character. Could have been still a Dragon Knight,
Yeah,
but
we
we're not
don't
sure.
know as of yet because we have
It
no
didn't look like a
information.
kind of Dragon Knight type of spell because we presume it to be a kind of a fiery type of archetype of spells for them.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Dan, lockpicking. You're a major enthusiast with lockpicking. You're going to take this. I don't know anything about it. What did they show lockpicking?
Um, Lockpicking, you looked at it before. Normally, it's kind of a flat-on 2D view almost, and you're moving the bumpers up and down into the right position. But this time, it was quite strange. They really wanted to show a 3D aspect to it. You've got an angle on it, really, so it's kind of going diagonally into distance, and it looks the same at first. You're just putting them down into positions you think they need to go, but when you, if well, don't really have to pay attention. But if you look at the bottom, you can see there's a timer. So obviously, I don't know if these are going to bounce back up like they did in Skyrim or Oblivion, but I guess it's a failed attempt if
Yeah,
you
I mean,
max out the timer.
if the timer reaches zero, maybe your lockpick breaks.
Yeah. So I guess with more difficulty, that timer is going to get a lot shorter, or you might always have the same amount of time, but you might get a lot more tumblers that you have to hit down. So it could be a combination of both. It'll be interesting to see if they bring in any new aspects to lockpicking.
The question of the week. We'll move on to that.
Sure.
The question of the week was, which creature will you be looking forward to in the Elder Scrolls Online? He gave three examples, which were the three creatures they released, but we have a couple of examples ourselves: the Womasu, trolls, mud crabs, drows, I think they were called. They were like the zombies, and my personal favorite, chicken. I'm looking forward to the mud crab because it's just the mud crab. You know, what isn't to look forward to? What creature are you looking forward to in Elder Scrolls?
The Wumasu, or the Womasu,
The
or
Wamasu, the Wimisi, the
the
Wimasu.
Womasu. The big Drake was kind of as shown. It was more like a electric type creature. I'll be interested if they're bringing like different type of element, not elemental versions, but kind of like a fiery
Oh,
one,
so like there would be a Wamasu, but there would
or
be
like
like
a
a
typically rock one, which would be stronger. Or but I do think it needs to be something you don't come across a lot because I think it will lose its kind of
yeah.
ferocity if it's just going to be something you're just going to walk across all the time. But it does feel like a something you want to be fighting with a through your friends and beating it down and proper getting into it, not just like a ferocious mud crab that would
Now,
just solo you.
I was just thinking here, thinking of creatures. Do you think you'll be able to steal horses?
See, this is a weird one because this is where the MMO aspect comes in. Because if you steal a horse, is that horse going to be there for everyone
Yeah, I
else?
mean, it's based. I don't think there would be because it would basically be a free mount, and you'd want to work to achieve your mount. Because whenever I get enough money to get my mount, it's a sense of achievement. I don't want to just run up and go my mount and just ride away for an hour, wait for my
Yeah.
bounty to go, and come back.
And I'm not sure things like thievery will actually even be there on launch. They've said that afterwards, when the Thieves Guild comes into play, you'll actually get bounties, and they're going to bring it in properly then. But
Yeah,
until then,
I'm very much looking forward to the Dark Brotherhood being in the game.
oh, I love the Dark Brotherhood. I can, if it wasn't in there, I don't know what I'd do. And I think it's good that they're bringing it later on, because otherwise I'll just go straight into that and I'd miss the main story like I did in Oblivion, really.
I think in Skyrim I completed the main story and did nothing but the Dark Brotherhood. And I think one day I glitched it out of my PC. I did so much Dark Brotherhood quests. It was just crazy. Now, guys, that's basically all the info we have. If you got, we don't have any much more to talk about, do we?
No, not really.
Two questions from you guys. Do you want to read them out?
Yeah, sure. The first one is from
Random is great.
Random as Grey. I don't really find Grey random, but clearly this person does. And the question is, I'm curious about this. But what if they introduced a way to gamble on arena fights, assuming that they do arena fights? I'm curious if anyone else finds this interesting and would try it out.
Well, first off, uh, I would. They said that there wouldn't be any phased instance PvP.
They said it wouldn't be at launch,
Launch at
but
launch. My bad.
yeah, because they say that on a lot of things, which I like because they're not ruling it out and bringing stuff in after launch it does work, especially if you do it effectively, because then people kind of they play one thing, they get used to that, and then you bring it in instead of kind of overkilling it straight away at the start, and people don't know what they're doing
Yeah, I mean they'll
or how
bring
to
it
do
in
it.
once the game kind of picks up and everyone can
Well,
afford to go
they
in.
might not. I'd like to see it personally. I'd love to see
I
arena
liked I
fights.
liked the arena aspect in Oblivion where you could fight
Yeah,
NPCs.
even if they brought in a PvE arena,
That would be
even
where
with just
the gambling aspect. I think what you mean there is when you gamble money in-game money. I don't think they'd add a real life currency gambling to the game
yeah,
because
obviously they'd have to kind of not stage the fights, but set them up like they would
World of Warcraft tournaments.
yeah, exactly. It'd be a bit dodgy to kind of be able to gamble on me just playing another random person. I mean, there'd be too many fights going on,
Or you could
things
fix
like
it even.
that.
You could fix it. It could be like, I'm gonna
Well,
go
no,
in.
they could randomize it, so you
Yeah,
know.
I suppose. And the second question was from 036DTW, and he says, can you elaborate deeper on how weapon and armor crafting will actually work? Like, not the additives, the actual item itself.
Yeah, we've said a lot about additives to make like the perfect weapon and change the kind of added stats and abilities brought on by the actual weapon, but we haven't mentioned that they've said that I think it's you'll combine two basic ingredients to make any weapon or armor
And then you
or
can add something
staff.
else to make it a bit better.
Yeah, so obviously those basic things are going to feature just like in Skyrim, where it might be
Two leather straps and four iron ingots to make a war axe.
yeah, but that if you take out just one more ignit, it will be
A
um,
mace.
yeah, exactly. So
I think.
what you have to do is kind of have to experiment to find out what the mace would be. So then you find out that it's two straps, three ignits, and then you'll kind of it will save that recipe. So the basic mace, you'll know what that is. So you could go to that and then add on, like we said before. So it's completely experimental. Obviously, there'll be people posting on the net, oh, this is how you make this is how you make
Yeah,
that.
sooner or later we'll probably have one up. Wow, because I know for a fact I'm going to be leveling armor smithing slash crafting and fishing.
Yeah,
So I'll
I
have
like
like
to do the weapon side of it, so then we can
us
trade and we can both kind of help each other with
like
that.
we'll have dedicated guides on that once
I
the
mean,
game
if we
comes.
find anything interesting, we'll probably do that. One thing that I'd like to think is that when people find something really special, they're not going to tell people what additives they put in it or how
Yeah,
many
like
or
let's
what
say
combination.
I get a sword, but I found this
Kind of
gem.
perfect
Yeah,
mix.
I found this gem that was miles deep inside a dungeon, and I put it on the sword, and that made a blah, 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 banana sword. But Dan only had the cabbage sword, and he wanted the banana sword. I wouldn't tell him how to make a banana sword.
That's kind of where we're getting off track here, but
Yeah,
where the auction house will get interesting because people will kind of specialize in certain weapons and
yeah, like fire
things
damage
like that.
and stuff.
But in terms of how crafting will work, you'll be able to find the ingredients all over the world in random places such as boxes and barrels and chests and off mobs. But you'll also be able to farm stuff like the ignits from mines how you would and gather the herbs and the ingredients for
Yeah,
provisionary stuff like you would normally. And then I presume there'll be forges and things,
yeah, there will be
such as
obviously.
Skyrim. And then once you have the ingredients to make what you think you want, it's completely experimental from there. Uh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's all for this week, guys. Make sure to leave your comments below on what you want to be. If you want to be featured in next week's episode, leave a comment below asking us a question. Make sure to
Or
go on.
we might even do some shout outs if you leave your name at the bottom because we got time. And if you're going to put your name out there and comment and like our videos,
Yeah,
then
if you do
you
MMO
deserve a
stuff,
shout out.
yeah, if you do MMO content slash Elder Scrolls and you want some publicity, let us know and we'll give you a nice shout out. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook. Well, I don't really give a shit about Facebook. Follow us on the website, which is the link below. That took us ages to set up. We're working on an interactive map. So it'll have all the places in the
Yeah, that
capital.
looks pretty cool. I can tell it's going to be useful on launch. Whether ours will be the best or whether someone's going to take our idea and actually put us at it is a different question.
So, guys, I'm going to Australia this weekend, so there won't be any Class 101 guide, but if I have time, I'll schedule it for Monday. If not, unlucky. So, there will be weekly, though. I'll still be making the weekly, don't worry. And
Yeah, I'll be up at stupid o'clock in the morning to see him at stupid o'clock at night just to make your videos, guys. So, like I said, even if you just want your name read out for a shout out, or if you want to leave us some questions to help us just in case we're lacking material, please do. And I guess we'll speak to you next week.
Alright, guys, thanks very much for watching. Chris out, Dan out, everybody out.
Bye bye.